Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 9 of the 2023 Tour de France. Guys, 9 stages have already passed. This is going to be the end of the first week of racing at the Tour de France for everybody to finally get that rest day coming tomorrow. Try to relax and recover from crashes and just muscles being torn up all over the place. But they still have to get through stage 9, and this is going to be a good one. At 182 kilometers long, about 115 miles in length, there's a few categorized climbs throughout the stage from about 2/3 into near the finish, but it's really the last climb that's going to matter the most, right? Puy de Dôme, it's a classic. It is a fantastic climb, and it is crazy hard, and it's going to summit today's stage 9. Now, the beginning part of Puy de Dôme, that part's hard and difficult. Then it'll flatten out and stair step up. Then the finals, that's when we go into the black, where we're talking about 9% sections, 14% sections near the summit. It's going to be wicked hard, so we know there's going to be a general classification battle. The question is, when the riders are lining up on the start line here in the neutral section, before they roll out, we look there at the race leader's jersey, Jonas Vingegaard, from Jumbo-Visma, and then we look over, and that, of course, the white jersey there, that's Tadej Pogačar. What are these two guys going to do? We look over just to the side of those two riders. Well, that's Neilson Powless, the KOM jersey wearer here at the Tour de France. So we know what he wants to do. He wants to get in the breakaway, go up the road, and try to get some points early in this stage 9 of the Tour de France so he can go into the rest day with the KOM jersey still on his back. Now, when we're going through the neutral section, Trek Segafredo race radio comes on, and the director sportif says, guys, this is now is when we're going to see how this race plays out. That means that the director sportifs for the European peloton here at the Tour de France, they don't even know for sure how it's going to play out. If you're one of the two big teams, UAE Team Emirates and Jumbo-Visma, you can have a big deciding factor on how it's going to play out. But like I told you guys yesterday on the Butterfly Effect, I didn't know either. I don't know if these guys, talking Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard, want to go all the way into Puy de Dôme with everything back together so they can race for a classic big victory summit win here at the end of stage 9, or if they want to play the safe card. Me, like I said on yesterday's Butterfly Effect, I'm thinking like the safe card's probably the best way to go because Tadej Pogačar's looking really good and Jonas Vingegaard's looking solid too, but those guys have done blows to each other on different days. So when the racing starts after the kilometer 0, who's the first guy to take off? My man, Victor Campenaerts, Lotto Destiny. He's going up the road. You guys have heard me say that already about 5 different stages, if not 6 at this first week here of the Tour de France, and Victor Campenaerts is going, and this time, guess what? He's got 13 riders on his wheel. In the KOM jersey, Neilson Powless is in there. Alexei Lusenko from Astana is in there, and he's got a teammate. And then we start looking further down. That's Michael Woods. Michael Woods from Israel Premier Tech. He's in this front group of 14, being driven by my man, Victor Campenaerts. Behind, what's happening? Well, Trek Segafredo, they missed the boat. Yesterday, they were attacking left and right, trying to get in the break because they thought the breakaway would go away. Today, they were a little more hesitant, didn't understand exactly what was on stage here for today's day 9. But they're waited a little bit too long, and now they're going up the road throwing in attacks. Only problem is there's other guys interested, and everything's getting brought back. 14 riders in the front. They're drilling it. They're holding about a 20-30 second gap on the peloton behind. Then you start seeing Julian Alaphilippe, the double road world champion, up the road trying to drive it. Mads Pedersen's with him, and he's a road world champion. We go back to the back of the peloton on the side of the road. That's a 3-time road world champion there, Peter Sagan. How often do you see a single road world champion, a double road world champion, and a triple road world champion almost all in the same picture at the Tour de France? Well, the two up front are driving it. Then we're going to see Mads Pedersen. He's at the back of the peloton. That's a single road world champion at the back of the peloton, triple road world champion in the cars trying to come back, and a double road world champion, Julian Alaphilippe, still attacking up the road. Nobody wants to let anything go because in that group of 14, there's a lot of teammates back here in the peloton, so they're killing everything. And mainly it's Jumbo-Visma back there shutting stuff down. They like this breakaway at 14 going up the road. It allows things to calm down just a little bit because because when you look at the group of 14, there's nobody up there that's a threat on general classification. Best guy up there is going to be Clement at 26 minutes, almost 27 minutes down on the general classification. So Jumbo-Visma are killing everything. Now, EF Education's going to follow the tack there of Skilmos from Trek Segafredo. And Skilmos going to look back at Alberto Bettiol and start arguing with him like, why aren't you working with me? Well, Skilmos, why would Alberto Bettiol want to pull you up to this front group of 14 that has Nielsen Palace, their KOM jersey wearer, and have Skilmos get up there and start taking KOM points away? There's no way he's going to bring Skilmos up there, so that gets shot down too. Now all of a sudden the peloton's getting up to a 3-minute gap, and that's it. Game over for a stage victory from what's left in the peloton, because we've got races within races now. 14 guys are going up the road. We know they got a shot at winning the stage because everybody's sitting up back there. Now we're getting just under 150 kilometers to go, and there's a crash. It's Lilian Calmijan there who's going down hard. What happened? Looks like something's all wrapped up in the road when they back the camera up. Look over to the left side where all the RVs are. There's a guy sitting there, a big-time cycling fan, and he's got all of his jerseys hung up on the string from pole to pole. He started waving his pole so the jerseys would come out like this, right? Well, the string snapped. It flew out in the road. It caught the wheel or the handlebars there of Lilian Calmijan, who goes down and crashes. You see Calmijan getting up. He is not happy. He is going thumbs up to the guy who brought all of his jerseys to this year's Stage 9 of the Tour de France. He unwraps it all and then throws the jerseys into the guy's face, jumps on his bike and takes off. Man, this was just one of those ridiculous things that's not necessarily the fans' fault, but kind of is the fans' fault too, because he's waving the pole. He definitely didn't tie it up good enough. And when it all snapped, if you look at the fan there holding the pole, it looks like he's fishing, and he called himself a Lilian Calmijan. He wasn't happy about it, but he'll get on his bike and take off, and all things being the way it is, just bad luck really, and a couple knuckleheads fans right there for stringing up a couple jerseys without them being secure. Now the peloton's dropping time all over the place throughout the course as Jumbo-Visma's on the front with no threat of trying to bring back that group of 14. The gap's going to go out to about 15 minutes when it's all said and done on today's stage, and then they'll bring it back in as they're going up the final climb. Let's get back up to the breakaway, though, because those 14 guys are going to start getting things excited with about 60 kilometers to go. It's Guillaume Boivin there from Israel Premier Tech as they're coming down the descent. He takes a slider off to the left side and just stays in the tuck, and he's pulling away. Well, that's going to start the action, because once the first attack happens, nobody in this group of 14 want to take a Michael Woods who's in that front group. They don't want to take Nielsen Palace. They're probably Alexei Lusenko, who's gone top 10 in Grand Tours, one being at the Tour de France. You don't want to bring him to the finish, even though he's not on the best form at this year's 2023 edition. You just don't know how they'll be. So the guys who aren't pure climbers, they love once the action starts here at 60 kilometers to go. We'll see Boivin get brought back on the next climb once they're going up the climb. It's my man Victor Campenaerts is throwing an attack with 500 meters to go before the KOM. Not a very wise tactic to do, Victor Campenaerts, because Nielsen Palace wants KOM points, so you know he's going to pull it back. Group gets pulled back. Nielsen Palace grabs maximum KOM points over the top, and then we see Alexei Lusenko and Michael Woods going up the road. They'll hold off the group behind for a K and a half, and then they'll get brought back. Now, as we get further into the tacks, it's going to be Matteo Jorgensen. And guys, I missed a few, so go back and catch them if you got time. But now with Matteo Jorgensen going up the road for Movistar, the American rider is looking solid. He's putting some time, about 25-30 seconds on the group behind. Then things start getting interesting, because we're going to see the next attack coming from Matej Mohoric. Matej Mohoric has got Bergerdo on his wheel. Those two guys are flying away. Then we see another two guys chasing. It's Nielsen Palace from EF Education and De La Cruz from Astana. Now the four come together. We got one up front with Matteo Jorgensen, the four chasing, and the group behind's about 8 riders strong. Then we start seeing Uno X. Uno X are throwing in everything with Abra Hansen in there as he's going full gas up the drag. He'll blow and pull off to the side. That's going to leave Jonas Grego, to try to close the gap. He doesn't have the legs. He sits up, and that's it. The gap extends to the 4 riders in front and Matteo Jorgensen, who's still going solo up the road. Now we look, there's a little bit of chemistry problem having in the group of 4 there, as we see Palace and Matthew Bergerdo going at it a little bit, because Bergerdo's not really that motivated to pull pull when he's got Laporte, his teammate, in the group behind. Now, everybody's got a little bit of numbers being played here, a little strange, because even De La Cruz from Astana, remember, he has Alexei Lusenko in that back group who's had some problems with his legs and dropping a little bit and then coming back. But with these chemistry problems with the fore and back, Matteo Jorgensen is keeping his lead at about 30, 40 seconds to those guys. They'll have a little bit more problem. We'll bring the cameras back and we see De La Cruz from Astana. He's got a gear issue. His pedals won't even turn. You see his car come up next to him, but they're coming into the next right bend there. And so De La Cruz got to let go of the car and keep coasting. Finally, he'll just have to pull over the side of the road and change bikes. That means now there's only 3 chasers going after one Matteo Jorgensen. As we see the climb Puy de Dôme start proper with 13.3 kilometers to go, Matteo Jorgensen's got about a minute gap on the 3 chasers behind. He's going full gas, trying to win today, stage 9 of the Tour de France for Movistar. Can you believe it? Movistar came in here with Enric Mas, and it's the American Matteo Jorgensen that's trying to salvage this year's 2023 Tour de France for Movistar. He's going full gas. It's 9 kilometers to go. Look up just above in front. That's the summit of Puy de Dôme. Man, he's got to be looking at that thinking, oh man, this is a big time effort. And he's got a 1 minute gap and about a 1 minute 45 on the 7 chasers behind. De La Cruz is somewhere stuck in between those 2 groups, but I don't know what he's doing because the cameras really aren't showing much of De La Cruz. Now we look at the peloton as they're coming down curb to curb before the last and final climb here starts at stage 9. We got Ineos fighting for position on the right side. Jumbo-Visma's on the left. When Puy de Dôme starts proper, look, it's DSM that won the battle. They got Romain Bardet there into a fantastic position to start the last and final epic climb here on stage 9 before we go into the rest day for tomorrow on Monday. Now we go back up to the front rider, Matteo Jorgensen. It's about 5.5 kilometers to go. And Matteo Jorgensen still has the summit of Puy de Dôme in his sights, but it's a long ways off. Only thing is, when I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, the time gap has gone up 15 seconds to the 3 chasers behind and 25 seconds to the 7 chasers behind, being led by Victor Campenaerts with Woods sitting tightly in second place. Now, we'll go back down to the peloton. We see Jumbo-Visma take over the front as they start setting a steady tempo here for their race leader in the yellow jersey, Jonas Vingegaard, who slotted just a little bit back with Tadej Pogačar near there. Now, we go back up to the front. Matteo Jorgensen, he's still holding that gap solid. We drop down to the 3 riders with about 3 kilometers to go, and this is when the action starts hot and heavy. Mate Mahorch throws in his attack. They can't follow it. Matthew Bergerdo is trying to follow it. Nielsen Palace is dropping off the back, and we know right now Matteo Jorgensen looks like he's still going to win today's race. I looked over at my wife while I was watching it live. I was like, this kid's going to win it. The U.S. is going to take a victory here on stage 9 of the Tour de France for sure. But then look back just behind Mate Mahorch in the picture. That's Michael Woods coming. Woods has dropped everybody in his group of 7. Now he's coming solo. He'll come up to Nielsen Palace. He'll drop the American rider from EF Education. Then he's going to bridge up to Matthew Bergerdo. He's going to leave him behind. Now he's got second place, Mate Mahorch, in sights. He comes up to about 1.5 kilometers to go, looks over at Mate Mahorch, and then just accelerates and drop him. Now let's go back down the descent, see what's happening with the professional general classification guys who are trying to win here at the Tour de France. Well, Jumbo-Visma were on the front. Then we saw UAE Team Emirates get on the front for a short time with Soler. And right after Soler was on the front, well, that's it. Jumbo-Visma took back over. Sepp Kuss is coming up the backside just a little bit behind Jonas Vingegaard, trying to get up to the front. Now we go back up to the front of the race, and let's see what's happened. Mate Mahorch just got passed and dropped right there from Woods. And Woods is now with about 550 meters to go. He is creeping up onto the back wheel of Matteo Jorgensen. He's going to catch him with about 400 meters to go. Matteo Jorgensen blows badly with 400 meters to go. Michael Woods starts soloing up to the top. He'll come up to the last little summit there as you roll into about 10-15 meters before the line, and he'll start celebrating. Arms up in the air, pumping, fist pump, screams, and yells of celebration as the Israel Premier Tech rider, the Canadian Michael Woods, takes his first Tour de France victory here on stage 9, Puy de Dôme. Fantastic job, Michael Woods. Congratulations. Now we go further back down to figure out second and third. Well, things got ugly for Matteo Jorgensen as he got passed from Pierre Latour, and then Mate Mohoric passed him for third to round out the podium. The American rider Jorgensen, he'll cross the line for fourth. Now let's go down and look at the battle because it was getting exciting for the general classification here too. On stage 9, we saw Wilco Kelderman. He was on the front, and when he was on the front, we saw guys coming off the back left and right as we see the GC hopefuls there getting dropped. Now we look up front, and I'm sitting on the Chesterfield thinking, man, there must be a change of guards because there's Wilco Kelderman getting dropped. So when the cameras come up, it's Sepp Kuss. Sepp Kuss has made a selection here. He's got Jonas Vingegaard on his wheel. Tadej Pogačar is there. Jai Hindley is there. Two Ineos riders. Tom Pidcock. Where have these legs been? Must be you've stayed away from that mountain bike racing long enough that now you're in the front group of the Tour de France with not only Tadej Pogačar, but with Jonas Vingegaard there holding on as Sepp Kuss is drilling it. His teammate there, Carlos Rodriguez, is looking solid. Adam Yates is there too, and Simon Yates, his brother. Now we see Sepp Kuss. He starts drilling it, and then we start seeing some casualties. Jai Hindley's coming out the back. Adam Yates is coming out the back, and they're struggling to hold on to the front group. Now it's time for Jonas Vingegaard to go to work, but when Sepp Kuss lets off on the acceleration, look how it goes a little bit slow. We see Jonas Vingegaard on the left, and we see Tom Pidcock on the right. If they're 3 wide, that means Jonas Vingegaard is not ready to throw in a big attack with about 3.5 kilometers to go here after Sepp Kuss finished. Jonas Vingegaard will hold off just a little bit. Tom Pidcock will pick up the pace just a smidge there, but not enough to really string things out. Then we look behind. Adam Yates looks like he's coming back on. Jai Hindley struggling, but trying to do damage control here on stage 9. We go up to the front. Jonas Vingegaard is still holding off. Then Tadej Pogačar is going to throw an attack with 1.5 kilometers to go. The acceleration's vicious. He's hard on the pedals. Jonas Vingegaard's directly locked onto his wheel, but everybody else is getting blown off the back. Jonas Vingegaard will hold for about 100, 200 meters. Then Tadej Pogačar drops Jonas Vingegaard and opens up a gap. Now you're sitting there on the Chesterfield getting excited, wondering if the Slovenian is going to take the race leader's yellow jersey here on stage 9. The gap is being held. Jonas Vingegaard holds steady here with the gap at about 3-4 seconds. There, the Tadej Pogačar, he's not losing time. Then a few hundred meters later, the rubber band looks like it's about to snap because Tadej Pogačar extends it about twice as far for an 8-second advantage, but they're going under about 400 meters to go. Jonas Vingegaard's digging deep. He's suffering like crazy. Tadej Pogačar the same. The Slovenian has never been pushed to the limit like we're seeing here on stage 9 of the Tour de France when both riders are 100% on form. Tadej Pogačar is drilling it into the line. He'll take maximum time, about 8 minutes behind the winner of today's stage, Michael Woods. And then we look just behind him. Well, Jonas Vingegaard did enough to hold on to the race leader's jersey, only lost 8 seconds on today's stage. We look further back behind him. We see Yates come across the line at 9:10. Then we see a host of other riders. As we look, we see Tom Pidcock leaving his team leader, Carlos Rodriguez. Now, they're only separated about a minute and a half on the general classification, but Tom Pidcock is going hard with Carlos Rodriguez coming off the back with just about 150 meters to go. They'll salvage the stage and keep their places on the general classification for the top 6 guys that started today's race anyways. When we look further back, though, big time changes. When we look, Tom Pidcock moved up a few spots in the top 10. We see Bardet drop back to 10th. Sepp Kuss moved up a spot, and then Gaudu lost some positions of 1 spot, going from 7th to 8th when the stage is all finished here on stage 9. Now, guys, when I break down the tactics, I love them from Jumbo-Visma. This is what you want to do. You're not exactly sure of the form of Tadej Pogačar, but you know you got beat on the last mountain stage going up Col de Tourmalet, so you don't want to just go into this stage and directly put a huge amount of pressure and then be wrong. I like the way they played it. They played it right. If Jonas Vingegaard's really good, he's still got his team there next to him the whole time. If he thinks, hey, my legs feel fantastic at this pace, I'll just keep having them pick it up. And you keep having them pick it up until finally you start seeing that there's nobody left but Tadej Pogačar. But today's race, there was still a bunch of guys left with Sepp Kuss, right? You had Sepp Kuss, Jonas Vingegaard, Tadej Pogačar, you had the two Yates brothers, you had two Ineos riders in there, and you had Jai Hindley, which means that these guys are feeling good. So Jonas Vingegaard, if his legs don't feel exactly fantastic with Sepp Kuss on the front, you got to know at that point in time, you got to play damage control, which is what he did when Tadej Pogačar lit everybody up. He was able to salvage the race leader's yellow jersey here with some intelligent racing on stage 9 to keep the yellow jersey within the Jumbo-Visma camp. Now, like I said, these two riders are about even when it comes to their form here at the Tour de France. So tomorrow's rest day, they got to be careful. One year when I was racing with Lotto, I was sick and injured and all that kind of stuff, so I took the rest day completely off, and they thought I was all crazy, but the next day I got better. You hear a lot of times where ex-riders say at the Tour de France, or even current riders, that sometimes you need to train really hard on the rest day so that you can be good for the stage 10 start that's going to be on Tuesday, because it's got a hilly start that's coming straight out the blocks. Personally, I think if you have good form, you have to take the rest day easy. Normally, I would ride about 45 minutes max on the trainer so I don't get lost in town and have to do more than you would want. But at the most I've ever done is about an hour and a half going out for some coffee and an easy ride back to spin the legs. I always felt good and that worked for me, but I have heard other riders that need to go out and do 2.5 hours, and I've heard ridiculous stories of riders doing 4 hours on the rest day. I don't agree with that. I think less is more in the case of tomorrow's rest day. It's the last time to recover and get everything going good. If you're already on good form, my personal experience is it's never going to disappear in one day, one rest day with just a little bit of spinning of the legs, some nice massages, good calories here and there for dinner and stuff. You'll be ready to go for the next stage 10 and flying, and you'll get that rest that you're going to need in these coming later 2 weeks of racing here at the 23 Tour de France. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition for stage 10 real soon.